Welcome to Shadow, a podcast that delves deep into the hidden corners of our psyche, exploring the darker, often repressed aspects of ourselves. Join your host, Bernard Alvarez, as he guides us on a transformative journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Bernard is a spiritual influencer, certified Reiki master, and seasoned teacher of shamanic, magical, and earth-based practices. With his profound insights and compassionate guidance, Bernard helps us confront our inner darkness, embrace our shadow, and ultimately illuminate our true selves. Prepare to uncover, understand, and transform as we step into the depths of shadow.
Welcome, my wild and sacred souls, to another episode of Shadow. Today, we're diving into a topic that is as deeply personal as it is universal: our sexuality and its connection to the shadow self. Sexuality is one of the most powerful forces in human experience. It is where pleasure, intimacy, vulnerability, and identity all meet. And yet, for so many of us, it's also a space of shame, repression, and fear. Why? Because our sexual nature, our desires, our identities, our preferences often conflicts with societal conditioning, religious teachings, and even our own internalized beliefs. Carl Jung introduced the concept of the shadow self, the parts of us that we push away, suppress, or deny because they don't align with who we think we should be. Sexuality is often entangled in the shadow because it's one of the most regulated aspects of human existence. From an early age, we are taught what is acceptable and what is shameful. For some, this means repressing desires that don't fit within traditional norms. For others, it means feeling guilt around pleasure or struggling with self-acceptance in the face of societal expectations. And let's not forget those who have been taught that sex is purely functional, about procreation or obligation, rather than a source of deep connection and ecstasy. What happens when we repress our sexuality? Often, it manifests in ways we don't expect: unhealthy obsessions, shame, fear of intimacy, or even resentment towards those who express themselves freely. Repression can also lead to acting out in ways that aren't in alignment with our truest selves, whether through infidelity, secrecy, or engaging in risky behavior that lacks intention and self-awareness. Sexual identity, who we are attracted to, can be profoundly shaped by the messages we receive growing up. If we're raised in environments where non-heteronormative orientations are shamed, dismissed, or outright condemned, these aspects of ourselves may be pushed into the shadow. For example, a man who experiences same-sex attraction but was raised in a strict religious household might repress those desires, convincing himself they are sinful or unnatural. He might enter a heterosexual marriage living a life that doesn't align with his truth. Over time, this suppression can manifest as anxiety, depression, or even resentment towards openly queer people, his shadow projecting onto others. A woman raised in a culture where female sexuality is heavily policed may struggle to accept her desires, experiencing shame for wanting pleasure. She might internalize the belief that sex should only be for reproduction or male satisfaction, cutting herself off from her own erotic power. When we integrate our shadow, we recognize that attraction, desire, and love exist beyond rigid social constructs. Embracing our true sexual identity isn't just about coming out, it's about acknowledging and loving the parts of ourselves we were once told to hide. Gender identity, our internal sense of being male, female, non binary, or something beyond, can also be deeply impacted by repression. Many of us are assigned a gender at birth and expected to conform to the societal expectations tied to it. But what happens when that assignment doesn't align with our inner truth? For example, a non binary person might grow up in a household where strict gender roles are enforced. Maybe they were told that boys don't cry or girls should be ladylike. Any deviation from these roles might have been met with punishment or ridicule. Over time, they might learn to suppress their fluidity, performing a gender role that feels like a mask. A transgender woman might repress her truth for years, afraid of rejection or violence. She might force herself to embody masculinity, building muscle, deepening her voice, or dating women, trying to fit the mold others expect. But deep down, the shadow holds her truth. The longer she suppresses it, the more psychological distress it causes. When the shadow is ignored, it doesn't go away, it festers. It can lead to self hatred, addiction, self destructive behavior, or even a deep sense of numbness. But when we shine a light on it, we give ourselves permission to exist fully and freely. Acknowledging the shadow isn't about forcing change, it's about allowing truth. Here are some ways to integrate the shadow when it comes to sexuality and gender identity. Self reflection. Ask yourself, what parts of my sexuality or gender do I feel ashamed of? Where did that shame come from? Exploration. Give yourself permission to safely explore your identity, whether that's through self expression, community support, or deep conversations with trusted friends. Compassion. Understand that the shame you feel was placed there. It isn't inherent to who you are. Release the belief that you are wrong for existing as you are. Take a deep breath and say this affirmation with me. My desires, my identity, and my truth are sacred. I release the shame that was never mine to carry. I embrace my full, authentic self with love, courage, and acceptance. Sexual identity and gender identity are also deeply intertwined with the shadow. Many of us grow up being told that certain identities are wrong or unnatural, leading to years, sometimes lifetimes, of internal conflict. But when we acknowledge our true selves, when we allow the shadow to be seen, we step into a space of authenticity and liberation. Another shadow laden aspect of sexuality is our relationship structures. Society largely pushes monogamy as the ideal, but for many, it doesn't align with their true nature. Some people thrive in polyamorous or open relationships, while others find deep fulfillment in exclusive partnership. Neither is wrong. But here's where the shadow comes in. Do we choose monogamy because we fear losing control or because we truly desire one deep connection? Do we seek multiple partners because we fear commitment or because we genuinely thrive in multiple loving connections? When we explore our motivations without judgment, we gain clarity and freedom in our choices. Beyond identity and relationship structures, the way we express our sexuality in the bedroom is also shaped by our shadow. Some feel drawn to more standard positions and experiences, while others crave exploration and experimentation. There is no right or wrong, only what feels authentic to you. But shame often creeps in when we label certain desires as too much, too weird, or too taboo. The truth is, sexuality is a spectrum of experiences. It's about pleasure, connection, and energy. When we allow ourselves to explore without fear, we open doors to deeper intimacy with both ourselves and our partners. Before we close, I want to leave you with an affirmation. Take a deep breath and let these words settle into your spirit. I honor my sexual nature as a sacred part of me. I release shame and embrace pleasure. I allow myself to explore, to express, and to love in ways that align with my truth. My desires are valid. My identity is whole. I am worthy of love, passion, and joy. Thank you for joining me in this powerful conversation today. If this episode resonated with you, share your thoughts, send me a message, or let's continue the discussion in our private community. Until next time, stay sacred, stay wild, and stay true to yourself.
Shadow is created by Bernard Alvarez and brought to you by the generosity of our supporting members. Thank you for your continued support and dedication.
Thank you so much for watching, my friends. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends. And if you'd like to unlock some amazing exclusive perks like special classes, meditations, courses, and more, consider becoming a supporting member of my channel. Just click subscribe on Facebook or join on YouTube. I love you, friends, and I'll see you next time.